Jeff Dye's friendship. Jeff Dye's friendship. Jeff Dye's friendship. Jeff Dye's friendship. Jeff Dye has friends. No, really, Jeff has friends. Jeff's friends are on this podcast. Jeff Dye's friendship. Jeff Dye's friendship. Jeff Dye's friendship. Jeff Dye's friendship.
Friendship.
Welcome back to Jeff Dye's Friendship Podcast, episode 57? 57. Which, it's a no-brainer on number 57. There's that center for the Dolphins. That's a guy. Didn't look it up on my phone. I just knew that off the top of my head. There's also K-Rod. That's a very famous. There's so many 57s to choose from. So you know, those are two for you right there. This week on the podcast, we have, dare I say it, my favorite guest we've had. I think I'll put that out there. I think he was my favorite guest. We have Diedrich BADER. You might know him from Beverly Hillbillies. You might know him from The Drew Carey Show. You might know him from Veep. He's had thousands of roles. He's had a very, very good career. I expected him to come in here and be like me, a silly, playful, dumb guy. And he was silly, and he was playful, but dumb he is not. Very sophisticated guy, very smart. He knows everything. He's like a sage. At one point, I call him a sage in the podcast because he's just such a cool, fun guy. When he came into my place, we were here with his publicist, and I was here with Tony, and he was in the kitchen. Almost immediately, he was just cool. He was a cool guy to be around. He was immediately friendly and fun and just like a nice, humble, cool dude. You guys are going to really love this episode. We talk about a lot of different things. We cover the gamut. This is a guy who grew up in Virginia, went to Paris for a little while, then came back, finished school there, then came out to Hollywood and had a great career. He wanted to be a theater actor, and then screen acting just kind of fell in his lap. They basically forced him to start screen acting. Really, really smart guy. I know you're going to love this episode. Excuse me. If at one point it sounds like he's... sounds weird. He has a deviated septum, and he's got plastic all up in his face bones, and so his nose looks a little different if you're watching, and his voice sounds a little different if you're listening. So it might not sound like Diedrich BADER, but we promise you that it is Diedrich BADER. He does a ton of voiceover work, and he's had a jacked up nose. That's his words, or not his words, but his sentiment. He's had a nose problems for like 20-something years, and he finally decided, let's get this taken care of. So if he sounds a little different, that's why, a little snivelly. But he is such a cool guy and one of the newest friends on Jeff Dye's Friendship Podcast. Enjoy.
Give me a clap, Jeff.
Jeff Dye's Friendship Podcast. 1, 2.
Camera 2, 1, 2. And then if you would mind, give me a
Diedrich
clap.
BADER.
Boom.
Yeah.
And we're in.
Yeah.
I like that trend that's starting. Everyone's, you're not the first one to be like, say their name when they do it. It's like a nice little roll call. I like it.
Yeah.
That's the best thing about entertainers. They know.
Yeah.
Like sometimes when we have just my buddies who aren't in show business, like they'll just sit there politely. Like they're like, I'm not going to do anything until I'm asked.
Like, will you talk into the microphone, please? That's what they're here for.
Yeah.
Like, they
Sometimes
don't know anything.
you do this thing called, what's it called? The shot master. This is where they drag a car behind a camera truck.
Oh, yeah,
So
yeah.
they've got like 5 different cameras on the top of the thing, and there's a guy that does it, shot master. Anyway, the first time I worked with it, I was
Is it to look like the car's driving, but they don't have to...
You're driving. You're not actually driving.
Yeah, you're pretending.
They're driving.
Okay, I've done it a few times. Yes.
Yeah. So anyway, the first time that I did it was in Arizona. I was doing a pilot called Desert Rats, where I played a deputy. Second time I played a deputy, and the guy who played the sheriff was supposed to be like this kind of wild, rebellious sort of guy. And I was like his square, guy, always catching up and, really hero worshiping him the whole time. I couldn't stand him. We got into fights all the time. And at one point, we actually got into a physical fight.
Oh, my God.
Oh, no.
Like we really, really got into it.
Can you find that movie still? Like, where does it live?
Desert Rats. I don't know.
Because I'd like to watch it knowing you hate the guy, but having to play a guy who likes him.
Oh yeah, and I love it. Like worship him. Yeah, we got into seriously a fist fight. Like I'm a very gentle person.
That's
we've been hanging out very short period of time.
Yeah, very friendly. Yeah,
very friendly sort of person. Yeah, he was. Yeah, we had a really awful argument, and I was drunk at the time.
So
I tried to extricate these women from this situation that he was harassing them in an over-the-top fashion. And I tried to get them out, and he basically just hit me. Because he thought he was going to get successful. Yeah, he hit me. I could have. If I had been sober, I probably would have, just gone, you got to calm down, back him off. But I was kind of drunk, so I would. Yeah, he hit me, so I was into it.
There you go.
From DC, it's like, no, you threw it first.
Time to take care of business.
Absolutely. And if you get punched in the face, it's best to get punched in the face. You punch in the face?
Yeah.
If you're going to get punched in the face, be drunk. That's the best time to get punched in the face.
Like 20 minutes later.
Oh, yeah. You're like,
or if you're sober, you feel it immediately.
Tomorrow, you start feeling like where it was.
Oh, the makeup lady.
But right away, no big deal.
The makeup lady had to patch us up because we were both swollen for, we fought. And she had to patch us up, and they had to do. Oh man, it was really awful.
She's cutting it open to drain the stuff
like Rocky.
Yeah.
Anyway, this guy kind of drove me crazy all the time.
Yeah.
So I'm driving the thing, and the shopmaster, instead of giving us a clapper to do it, we had to actually clap to start our take, which is why I thought of it. And so we were like, okay, so scene blah blah blah, take like that. Instead of doing that, the dude takes out his gun and shoots it in the car. Now, it's just filled with blanks.
So what?
Because the next scene we're supposed to be doing, we're supposed to be shooting after the, thing, whatever. So the prop guy gave us our guns and didn't say, don't shoot the guns because there's no need for you to shoot guns in a car.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
And so he just shot the gun. And then, of course, everybody on the truck, because they're wearing headphones.
Right.
We're like, oh my God. You can see them practically jump out of the truck. And that was one of the little scuffles we got into because I was like, I don't want to curse on that, but I was.
You can curse on it.
I was like, what the fuck, man?
Yeah.
I mean,
why would you do that?
We're in this tiny little car. And he goes, I thought it'd be funny. And I went, it wasn't funny at all. Now we can't hear anything. Funny. My ears are ringing. We're supposed to be doing the fucking scene.
His argument makes me like him a little bit. Yeah. I thought it'd be funny. Like it sounds like something a little boy would say.
There was a little boy quality to him that I did like, and I appreciated. There was a sweetness to him, and he's dead now. He had all kinds of abuse problems. But
I heard that blanks still are dangerous.
Yeah.
Like I've seen a video of them holding a blank next to things, and at point it can jack things up.
Also, it's only a third of the amount of gunpowder that goes into actually making a projectile. So it's much quieter than an actual gun in a car, which would have been truly deafening.
Right.
Yeah.
But as it was super loud.
Super annoying, too.
Yeah, and it was really annoying.
Obnoxious.
Well, because we were supposed to do the scene right after.
Now you got to wait,
And then all the guys on the truck were... Anyway, so
I'd love to be in that truck and be like, did he really? Why would?
Oh, there's no way. There was no question that what he did was exactly what he did. So, we all have these mics and we do the, you got a wire thing. Anyway, the sound guy got him back because of his drinking problem. He had massive gastrointestinal distress every time he relieved himself.
Oh, my goodness.
And so to get him back, the sound guy made a recording of him going to the bathroom, and we all listened to it, and it was really funny.
Phenomenal. Yeah. See, the sound guy knows humor. This guy shooting off blanks, being like, right? Am I hilarious?
Yeah.
No,
because you went into the time where you were like, first it was funny, then it was not right, and you felt bad. Yeah. Then it was funny all over again. And of course, the second time it's funny. You've doubled down. It's twice or even exponentially funnier than it was the first time.
In hindsight, someday a movie about a psychopath like that would be very funny.
Right, a totally difficult.
Yeah, because leads nowadays are pretty unlikable.
Well, there was, as we said, there was a little sweetness to him that I did appreciate, and there was a charm to him.
Yeah.
But he's the type of guy that actors get a reputation. Like everybody thinks actors are like that all the time. But the majority of them are actually pretty easy to work with and nice enough people. But he he was a perfect example of somebody that was completely out of control. Never knew his lines.
Yeah.
Drank a lot.
Was it Burt Reynolds?
How great would that be?
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like I've heard these kind of stories from a guy like that, but he wouldn't have said, I thought it'd be funny. He'd be like, fuck off. Like that. I wanted to do it.
I wanted to shoot the gun. Yeah. Yeah, at one point, like, he decided he wanted to drive our cop car from one set to another and pulled over a pretty girl. And then, like, turned on the lights and the sirens.
my
It's
God.
definitely a felony for sure.
That's what I kept saying.
Yeah.
And what was funny was that I kind of, like, embodied the nerd character I was supposed to be because I don't really consider myself so much of a nerd.
Yeah.
But at that point, I was like, you realize you're
Compared
breaking
to
the law
this
right now. You're
cowboy,
actually breaking the law.
Yeah.
It's not a state law for you to impersonate an officer. Take it easy. I was like, it's a federal law.
Yeah. Compared to this psychopath, we all look like nerds.
Yeah.
He's like, oh, relax. Attempted murder. I didn't kill anyone.
I'm just pretending to be a police officer. Right, exactly. That's what I'm saying.
It's a frivolous felony. Why is everyone being so weird?
Right. What's the worst that could happen? We could get arrested.
Oh, lots of bad things could happen.
Actual police.
Guy sounds like a
have
cowboy.
a problem with it and could arrest us.
You know who he reminds me of? Do you know Pat Finn?
Oh, yeah, of course.
He's like one of my greatest pals. I spent the
Oh,
week
he's
with him
fantastic.
in Florida golfing
Oh,
at
sweet.
the
Oh, I
Caddyshack.
love Pat
But you
Finn so
remind
much.
me of him a lot. Yeah,
He's hilarious.
he's the best. He's a really
Totally.
good guy. Yeah,
He's a great guy. Really funny. I remember when he
having
did
him at those things is so good for me
Having what?
because
Sorry?
at like these golf tournaments and things like that.
Oh, yeah?
Because I know as long as Pat's there, we can just sit by each other and riff and make fun of things and
Right.
just
Have a good time.
I don't need anyone else
No, you're
to
in
be
good
around.
hands.
Yeah, he's a
Yeah.
good
Yeah,
guy.
there's nothing worse than playing a round of golf with somebody you don't like because you're stuck.
Yeah, when also like at the night they have these big parties,
Yeah.
and everyone's like, I don't know, like just itching to get like a photo with Bill Murray and like run.
Right,
And so it's
of
like
course.
it's just very weird those things.
Yeah.
So if you have a Pat and a whiskey, it's like the best. But
Yeah,
you
that's all you
remind
need.
me of him for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah. No, Pat's
So-
great. He did a pilot. Actually, I think it ended up being a series with George Wendt.
Yeah, we talk about him. Actually, I got to drink with him a bunch.
and I've never forgiven him for that. That's why we're not actually friends.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, come on, he's got to work, you know. He also
I
has a
don't see
wife
it that
and
way.
kids. Do you know George Wendt very well?
I mean, to talk to him, yeah.
Yeah, it's Finney's Ryan Finn's godfather.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah,
Oh,
that's
so it's
how
an
like
inside
close
thing.
they
Yeah,
are.
I
So
get it.
maybe,
Yeah.
dude, you'd have been real close with him if you'd got that role.
It was to play his brother. I think it was physically better. No, and Pat's fantastic. I'm just obviously just kidding. But
You've been in everything, by the way. Just so the people know, you've been in literally everything. Like, look, I feel like looking at your
lucky.
that's also a Pat Finn quality. Like, I'm just scrolling through your IMDb. It's
6
been
degrees.
constant work, and
I've
also
been lucky.
very talented. I don't know about luck. The I think on the podcast we've had lots of people. I didn't know of Jeremy Piven until I was like older. I didn't. I wasn't like a fan of Dane Cook till I was. All of our guests. Like, there's some sort of element of either they're my friend or there's someone I like.
Yeah.
I've been a fan of yours. I think since like grade school. Like
you were a
on
child.
Drew Carey. Like
Aw,
you're
That's sweet.
I've been a fan of you the longest out of anyone that's been in this room.
Oh, I
I
love
feel
that.
like. Yeah.
Oh.
That was. What was your first thing you ever booked?
First thing I ever booked was a Western. I was on vacation in Santa Fe, New Mexico, and with my parents. And my mom was an artist and
Sculptor, right?
Yeah, sculptor. Thank you. Knew a lot of like local artists all over the place. Well, we had gone to Santa Fe with somebody that grew up there. Her name was Puka. After
Hawaiian?
after the Spirit, like the. It's like her dad was this super hippie, and her mom was like this surrealist
Spirit,
painter.
not
Yeah.
my Bible. USA, USA. That's why they hate us. I made it worse.
So we went to go have dinner with Puka's mom, and it was a fantastic house, like right in the heart of Santa Fe. Beautiful place. She's a surrealist painter, so the paintings were all over the place. Really
Nice.
talented woman. Her back patio had this cherry tree where you could just pick the cherries right off. There was a really lovely
Nice.
evening. One of the people there was a casting director. And she was the local casting director for a pilot, for an ABC pilot called Long Arm, which was an adaptation of a series of books, which are truly terrible. They're Western novels, like Zane Grey kind of sort of things. Anyway, if you look at the cover, the guy looks like, like Clint Eastwood, but like more handsome and kind of, built.
More handsome.
More handsome, I know, right? Anyway, I wanted to be a stage actor up until this encounter.
Also, how old were you in this story?
I was 20.
Okay.
Yeah. And so, anyway, I met this casting director. We sat across from one another. And she said, you should come in and read for this pilot that I'm casting. And I said, no, I'm going to be a stage actor. I'm not interested at all. She goes, just for the experience, why don't you come in? And I go, no, I'm really not interested. My goal in my life is to be at the Oregon Shakespeare Festival, and that's all I'm going to do. And she goes, just see what it's like. And I go, I mean, all right. I don't want to waste your time. So she goes, there's a local role. It's being cast locally. It's for the local, it's the young gunslinger. And I think you might be good for it. I said, great. All right. Fantastic. So I read for it. And she goes, that was really funny. And I go, well, thanks. And she goes, problem is, it's not a comedic role. So is there any way that you could read for this other part, which is a comedic role? In fact, it's the only comedic role in the pilot. It's to be like the Barney Fife, the deputy.
Sure.
And so I was like, I don't want to. I really don't. Because that works more than a day, right? She goes, yeah. And I go, I'm not sure. That means I'd have to stick around. I really don't know. I'm really not into this. She goes, please, just do it just once. And I go, all right.
I'll just begging you.
So I did it. And then the producers came into town and they read me for it and seemed pretty excited. And then they wanted me to read again. And so I read for it again, and they said, now look, you're a local hire. I mean, no, you have nothing on you have literally nothing on your resume.
Yeah.
This is going to be a tough sell for us, but we really want to make this work. And I said, I mean, if you feel like it. And then I realized that my mind had changed, and I didn't know that this had happened, but it had. They said, at one point, your character has to take out both guns on a horse, ride down the middle of the street, shoot people off the top of rooftops with explosions happening. Do you think you could do that? Of course, the answer is no. But I said yes. And I totally surprised myself. Like, it took me out of myself. I was like, who just said that?
And why would I make that up? Yeah.
Why would I lie about that?
Yeah.
I can't shoot guys off roofs.
With explosions going to spook the horse?
If I've got both guns out, how am I holding on to the horse?
Yeah.
What is happening right now? Who said this?
Yeah.
And they're like, okay, great. And I go, yeah, absolutely. Can handle it. Can do. Never ridden on a Western saddle before in my life. So they were like, great. So they went to ABC. ABC said yes. I got the part. And my mom, we were still on vacation, remember, was like, you're going to have to learn to ride on a Western saddle. So I started practicing. And then once I got to the set, I got to choose my, outfit, how I would have my guns, where I would wear that, put my star on, put my hat on. I was a cowboy.
Yeah.
And my first shot in show business was that shot.
Wow.
So I ride to the top of the street, put the reins in my teeth, figured that out. Took out both guns. I did a cross draw.
Ooh,
nice.
Took them both out at the
flashy
same
for
time.
a new cowboy.
Kicked the horse. It's a show horse. It's not a tourist horse or the horses that I grew up with riding at my camp. So normally you give a little kick to a horse, breaks into a trot, then you kick again, canter. Again, there's the gallop, right? That's how they know. This is a show horse. So he goes right to gallop.
Oh, no.
So I kick him and he goes, whoa, like that, like all the way back. But then I'm like, all in. So I start shooting the guys off the thing and it's so awesome. They're falling off. There's explosions happening left and right. I'm like, this is the greatest thing that's ever happened.
Yeah. How exciting.
It's amazing. And so I pull up at the end of the street, I turn myself around. Everybody's turning their back on me. I go, that's weird. What's going on here? I put my guns back in, crossfit. Ride up. There's a guy who looks something like me. He goes, all right, kid, get off the horse. I go, all right. He goes, give me your hat. Give me my hat. He goes, give me your guns. Take the guns, puts them on. He goes, give me your star. I was like,
oh, no.
My star. I was a deputy such a short period of time.
Yeah.
This was my stuntman. And he did it much better than I would ever do it.
Why would they ask you if you could do it if they're going to get you a stunt guy?
Because they wanted to get as much on camera as possible so they could cut to.
Sure.
Otherwise it doesn't work. All of that ended up cutting all right.
Yeah.
Believe it or not, because I did ultimately commit
I would
to
love a photo of that. Just you on and the horse up.
The only photo my mom had of me in show business was the second before I kicked the horse.
Really?
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, that's great.
They have a still of that, and it's just me, raids in my teeth, like, okay. And that was kind of the beginning of the whole thing, because I realized how fun it was.
Is that when you learned that a stage actor and maybe a film actor are so similar in the fashion they'll say whatever it takes to get a part?
It's also interesting that I ended up being more ambitious than I thought I was, and had a unconscious desire to want to be in actual show business.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And honestly, I didn't know it until that moment. Until
Yeah.
I said yes.
Hey, can you surf? You're like, we'll figure it out. Yeah. Like, we can make that happen.
I
Like,
lie constantly about that stuff. Can you scuba dive? Yep.
Sure. Yeah.
You bet. Licensed in 3 states. I didn't even know if it was a state thing. I said that once before a commercial audition.
That is so
Yeah.
funny.
Licensed in 3 states. Where'd that come? Is
I don't
there
know.
a different one for
I have
every
an
state?
international
How
driver's
did that come
license
out?
too.
Yeah. I think I even said at that audition that I went to University of Florida. Thinking lots of scuba divers down there probably. I don't even know where it is. Tampa? I don't
That's
even
the
know.
swamp. Yeah.
It's the swamp. They scuba dive in swamps. Apparently. Yeah.
You know what I'm surprised is, so, knowing you from the Drew Carey Show,
Yeah.
Beverly Hillbillies,
Yes.
even the role you just said, they said when you read it was very funny. And they're like, well,
Yeah.
this isn't a funny role. We'll
Right.
give you this other role that is funny.
Right.
On camera, you're a very funny guy. And in person, you're very funny.
Thank you.
But you have a very sophisticated
It's
side.
the glasses, isn't it?
No, it's not the
I
glasses.
wore the most pretentious glasses I could.
Well, no, the fact that you're looking at art with your mom at 20 years old, because when I hear that story, I'm with my parents,
Yeah.
going down to Santa Fe, I think, maybe he's like 7 or 8. I don't know what, I don't go on vacation with my parents,
Yeah.
Like you're essentially a grown man, 20 years old, going
Yeah.
on vacation with your parents. Your Instagram is all flowers.
Yeah.
You appreciate like fine art.
Yes.
You're kind of in both camps on that.
Yeah. I'm different than a lot of people in show business.
Yeah.
I was brought up in a household where it's largely academics. I'm the only kid in my family without a PhD. I'm the only person in my even extended family that doesn't have a PhD.
Do
Lots
they
of
hold
art
that against
historians.
you?
They're absolutely uninterested in my career.
You're kidding.
No, I mean, that's one of the things that people don't actually buy about my family. They have very little interest in it. They don't talk about show business. Most people talk about show business.
Yeah, I'm the star of my family because
They
they're
love
just
it.
they're like,
They wanna talk about
he
it.
was
Can
on
you believe it?
cable.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I think for them it's like, I'm pretty sure some people do that. There seems to be an entire industry about it. That's interesting.
Oh, yeah. What
Other
is it
than
like
that,
over
it's
there?
really like after William Powell, things went downhill. So no, it's a different thing. I mean, when I was a kid, we went to art galleries, we went to museums, we lived in Paris, we lived in DC. When I was a little kid after school, I would either go to my mom's studio or to the Senate office building where my dad worked. So
He was
it's
a foundation executive, which I don't know what that is.
foundation executive. I think that's on my IMDb page.
That's how I found it.
Yeah.
I was like, well, I wonder what his
no,
parents did.
at that time he was chief of staff of the Senate Foreign Relations Committee. Before
Okay.
that, he was in the CIA for many years.
Holy wow.
He worked at the DOD, the Department of Defense. Sorry, and then ultimately, the pinnacle of his career was that he was Assistant Secretary of State under the Clinton administration.
Oh, wow.
So he had a really good career.
That's the problem with these CIA guys, They never tell you any of their good stories.
What's funny is
Oh,
that
it's a secret.
people in Hollywood always assume that my dad actually told me stories of the stuff that he did, and he really didn't.
Yeah,
Because
they
he was
don't.
actually genuinely a spy, so he didn't tell anything.
Yeah,
about
you'd
it.
be like, oh, it's all paperwork. You wouldn't want to hear it. You're like,
Yeah.
I know 2 dudes in the CIA, and
Right.
I can't get anything out of them.
Yeah, right. No,
I'm
they
like,
don't
who do you
actually
think
tell
I'm
you.
going to tell? I mean, I guess maybe I would tell them. But they're always like, I was like, Jeff, it's not even that interesting. It's not like TV like you see. I'm like,
It's
I
not.
bet it is. I bet it is like
They're trying
TV.
to end
And
the
you're
conversation
lying.
as
to me.
quickly as possible. That's
Yeah.
what they're supposed to do.
Ugh.
I mean, we would go to a party. I remember when I was a little kid, I was 8, and I was riding in the back, and my dad clearly had too much to drink, but was driving the car because it was the 70s.
Yeah. That's
and
a new
I
law.
said, Dad, it was sort of interesting. And he goes, oh, what's that? And he goes, well, everybody there worked in the forestry service. And my dad giggled the entire ride home because no one worked in the forestry service. They all chose the same fake job.
Yeah.
And that's what was funny to him, was like they didn't mix it up at all.
And nobody noticed. Yeah, nobody.
You guys, you got to coordinate these things. You can't all be on the forestry
It's
service.
like when you see the college football game and all the linemen have like the same major. It's like ethnic studies or like general. You're like, they're not even trying to pretend that they're going to this university for school.
For actual schooling.
Yeah.
So no, I mean, it's a different, I mean, everybody comes from a different place.
Yeah.
But I mean, what was interesting about that upbringing was that my actual character, the person who I really am, I was never able to play because it didn't work for the characters until Bill Erickson on Veep.
Okay.
Veep was the first person, Bill was the first person that I played where he was really close to me. He was, although a very different person, he talks like me. So I was able to show closer to who I actually am.
Sure.
And now the character that I'm playing on American Housewife is really very close to who I am. And I finally have a PhD. It's only on television.
Hey, it counts.
Right.
There you go.
Yeah, for my
Some
siblings,
say
it's
it
a big
counts
deal.
more. Like take Rudy, for example. You know, Rudy Rudiger. The real Rudy came to our school and when I was in like junior high, and all the students were disappointed.
Right.
So like, that's not Rudy. Like, no.
Because Sean Astin played it.
Sean Astin plays Rudy. He's an actor. They would have been more starstruck by the guy who played Rudy.
Than actual Rudy.
Rudy.
Yeah,
For sure.
Rudy.
So someone say a PhD.
Sean is great in that movie.
Oh, he's phenomenal.
He's really amazing.
I haven't seen anything he's been bad in ever.
No, he's a great
Because
actor,
from
but I'm just saying for
Goonies
that
on.
movie.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. He's great in the Goonies.
One of my
So good.
favorites.
Yeah.
But some would say a PhD on TV counts more.
Because that's the thing, you didn't have to
No
pay
one in
for
my
it.
family, but somewhat.
Yeah, but you don't have to pay for that PhD. You're getting paid to have it.
Yeah.
There you go.
Oh.
Yeah, William Shatner walks around like he's an actual captain. I have to remind him all the time. Like, you weren't a captain. He's like, I never thought of that.
You must have loved this chair. It's very reminiscent.
Even at his house. He's like, oh.
Yeah.
I'm like, you're not.
Yeah.
Wait, so explain the flowers, your love of flowers.
It started off. I wasn't really that into it before I moved into this house. And the first owner of this house were the second owners. The first owner of the house was the first president of the Hancock Park, which is the neighborhood that I live in here in Los Angeles, the Gardeners Association. First president, 1933. So the bones of the garden were really good, but everything had run amok.
I didn't even know there were presidents of things like that.
Everything had gone to hell basically because since her husband died, she really didn't care about the garden. So the whole backyard was ivy, and I had a tremendous amount of work to do just to get it up to where it just looked like things. Anyway, it started off that way, and then it became, the more I got into it, just like anything else, the more I got into it, the more I realized that there's a lot to it. And first I started buying things that bloomed all the time, like roses, for example. Like the common roses that you see around everywhere around Los Angeles, like the icebergs, for example. There's this common white rose. But I started to get bored of them. And I realized the things that are interesting are the things that come and go. Just like a friend that is traveling around the world. He comes in to the neighborhood. You say hello. You're really happy to see them. And then they leave.
Right.
And then they go basically back into the ground. So I'm very into bulbs. Which is a little frustrating because in Los Angeles it's a very limited zone to see what you can plant. But I'm very into the cyclical nature of it.
Yeah.
I love to see how the garden changes and morphs, and what I can do to help it. And it's a beautiful thing to be a part of.
I love it.
It's only a positive.
Yeah.
It's a lot of work. But it's also it's a great passion of mine. I really enjoy it. And then my kids know when we travel, I travel around what's great hiking, good restaurants, and gardens. So I will always take them to a garden. So they have started to find interest in it.
Oh, they're finding interest. I was going to say, do you think that's going to make them grow up and be like, no flowers?
No
We can't. My dad was always,
flowers. Yeah.
Because sometimes that happens.
Yeah, sure, of course. Yeah. No, I mean, there was the term William and Mary?
No.
Okay, William and Mary was the dual king and queen of, in other words, they both had the same amount of power of England. Because William of Orange, who was Dutch, took over because they had no succession they could go to for the English
I remember
crown,
this.
right? So William, because he was Dutch, first came to London, and they were having this big parade to welcome him and Mary in order to rule England, and then they were going to have succession. He left the parade during the parade and rode his horse into the gardens around London just to look and to see what they were like. Because for the Dutch, it's a very big deal.
Yeah.
And there was part of me when I read that I was like, he's my favorite king.
Yeah. I find I click with people on the weirdest things.
Yeah.
So, like, for an example, I'm good pals with Dennis Regan, who's a stand-up comedian, or Gad Elmaleh, who's a big comic in Paris. And what we like about each other is just that we love a walk.
Yeah, just to take a walk.
You want to take a walk?
Yeah.
I'll drive somewhere just to go walk with them.
Yeah,
and we'll just walk and just
just
chat
take a
about
nice little
stuff.
walk, yeah.
Pop into stores, get an espresso.
It's a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
A walk is a gorgeous thing. Just taking a walk with somebody, having an open dialogue. Yeah. And then what's great about a walk is that it's not a forced dialogue. We're not sitting in a room with microphones in front of our face. Sometimes things happen. Sometimes you feel like talking. Sometimes you don't. You can have reflections on your past life, on the present.
Yeah.
Or just whatever happened the night before. It's so easy, the conversation. I really love it.
Love a stroll.
Yeah,
I love a stroll. Also, I find that it makes me interested in things I probably wouldn't be interested in if I was alone or be with like a big group of rowdy people or something.
Right.
You'll just be like, sure, let's go into this weird store.
Yeah.
I don't know anything about it.
Right.
I'm probably not going to buy anything. I don't have any interest in what's in the window, but let's just go see.
And as somebody who travels a lot, you go into these towns. That's one of the things about being on location. The only really good positive thing about it, because it's hard to go back to an empty hotel room.
Yeah.
Is that you get to discover different towns, walk around, see what it's like, see what the local, everything, all the local flavor.
Yeah.
I loved being in Baltimore, for example, because it just was such an interesting, diverse city to walk around.
Old
Dangerous at
buildings
times,
too,
old
yeah.
buildings, yeah. So I thought it was super cool. I love to be open to experience. And that's part of what a stroll does, is that it sort of forces you to be open to an experience. One of the worst things about Los Angeles, this is said a lot, is that people drive from one place to another.
I know.
Yeah.
And they don't really know what the town is like.
Yeah, they're like, things will be like in their neighborhood. They don't, or not in the neighborhood, but like Tony walked recently. Tell him that story.
Yeah, I just took
Tony walked?
Yeah, I did. I took a stroll.
First of all, I'll give you some context.
Yeah.
Tony's lost, how much weight you lost in the last few months?
80 pounds.
80 pounds.
That's amazing.
yeah,
Good
he's just
job.
been killing
Thank
it,
you,
eating
thank you.
healthy,
In a month?
doing yoga.
No, since the beginning of the year.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah.
And so one of the things, he's been eating healthy, and he's been doing like yoga, which is very fantastic.
Yeah, yoga is great.
It looks totally different. Is that you look great, but then also you've been taking walks. Like if he's got time, instead of like just taking an Uber or whatever, he'll walk.
Yeah.
But then the other day you were walking.
Yeah, so I moved into a place in December, and just like this year's been so busy. And then I'm like, I'm going to take a walk. And I walked around my neighborhood.
Yeah.
And a side of the neighborhood I'd never walked around.
Yeah.
And I was like, what? There's an arcade here? I was like, why? How did I
Stumbled upon an arcade. He loves games.
And then like I went half a block. I was like, there's a bowling alley? Like I was like, how do I?
People don't know.
This is my dream neighborhood, and I've
people
just
don't
been
know.
avoiding
Right,
it.
yeah.
So
Yeah, I mean, one of the interesting things about Beverly Hills, for example, it's not where I live. I'm not into it. There are no sidewalks
yeah.
in the neighborhood proper. So they don't expect anyone to walk around their own neighborhood.
Yeah.
It's just a crazy
Bad
thing.
for car sales.
Part of the city planning was that you're not going to walk. You're going to get into a car.
Yeah.
That's just a strange concept.
I always make fun of Michigan about that because I like to
no
walk.
sidewalks?
So like sometimes I'll wake up at like 9 a.m. and I'll think I don't have to be anywhere for 11 hours. Like my show starts at 8.
Right.
So
I have all this time.
no matter how far the coffee shop is that I want to go right at, I can walk it.
Yeah.
If it's 5 miles away, I can
you
walk
can do it.
the
You got
I
that
got
time.
plenty of time.
Yeah.
And like in Michigan, no sidewalks. I'm literally walking like
that
on the
right?
side, and there's like a grass going down, and then like the road, and so like I'm walking on, and cars are honking. Like, why is a guy?
What are you doing
Yeah,
in the street?
I'm walking. I'm just having
What
enjoying
are you doing
it.
with your legs and your feet
Yeah.
like that?
You should get a car,
Yeah,
poor
get a
guy.
car. Don't you know you're in Michigan?
Yeah,
You don't
what is
know-
this
know
guy?
what we do here?
Homeless.
Yeah. Is he homeless? Yeah, exactly.
The weirdest
Yeah.
thing.
No, but it's a strange idea to cut people off from walking.
That's weird. That's
Yeah.
why the Segway was supposed to be a genius invention. Dean Kamen, the guy that invented the Segway, his idea
Well
was
done,
like,
by the way. That's impressive that you know his
oh, I
name.
love him. Yeah, he's a really great guy. He's trying to change the world. He was in his mind. He was like, listen, there's places we drive,
Yeah.
and there's places that we walk.
Yeah.
But what if it's in the middle? What if it's like silly to be driving that, but also
Yeah.
a little too far to walk?
Yeah, that makes sense.
We need like a middle thing.
Yeah.
So let's make a Segway, but then just nobody bit, and it looked stupid, and it cost too much money, so nobody took on to the Segway.
It's also really awesome when Weird Al rides his Segway onto stage.
I didn't know he has a Segway.
Oh, yeah. when you go to his house, he makes you ride. It makes everybody ride around.
Really?
Like that's one of the things. Before you leave,
He's so fun.
nice, the best. But anyway, it's strange to me that there's a culture where they want to separate you from basically everybody else. It's kind of an American thing.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, we want to be on our own all the time. It's
Yeah.
strange to me.
When I was, I wouldn't say that I'm not one of these guys that's like, oh, I think the old days would have been so much better. But there's a lot of things that I do that are kind of old guy qualities.
Yeah.
Like I love a stroll. I love a cigar.
Right.
When I see a park bench or like a bench, I'm like, hey, why don't we sit there for a bit? Like I get excited. Or like I see birds. I'm like, oh, we should go find something to feed these birds. Like I have a lot of old man qualities that way.
Sure.
Sometimes I'll take a tumble, you know? I wear brown pants. You know what I'm saying? A lot of things.
Yeah, well, it's part of enjoying life.
Yeah.
I mean, what's essential is that you start enjoying that time while you're as young as you are, rather than getting to 80 years old and going, I should sit on a park bench more often.
Yeah, he seems like I'm always, that's how I meet all these old guys. Is I'll sit there and just start chatting them up, and then they're like,
and they love a chat.
they're like, what is this guy, the loneliest guy in the world? Why is he talking to me?
I think they're actually thinking the opposite. They're really delighted to have somebody to talk to.
I have a good time. Yeah. Like there's a guy that lives in my building here.
Oh, is that right?
And he lives alone, same size, everything. It's exactly the same unit, if you will. And he just lives there alone. And I've gotten to know him so well by he was at the mailbox. I was like, what's up, man? How are you? We chatted up. And then I was like, he loves whiskey. I was like, if you want some whiskey, I think like a young guy would probably think I was like hitting on him. But like this guy was just like, yeah, I'll have a whiskey and smoke a cigar and chill with you. But there's a lot of people out there that will like, that's what the Friendship Podcast is all about. That's
right.
Friends everywhere.
Right.
Oh, yeah. And also, we close ourselves off from talking to our neighbors and being friends with our neighbors. I mean, that's one of the things that I liked about the South. There's obviously problems with the South, but everybody knows everybody. And when you're into a neighborhood, you talk to your neighbors. Sitting on the porch actually is a thing. People just walk by and just say hi and they just shoot the shit. What's nice about it is that before you get to what you actually want, if you want to go borrow something like a hammer or whatever from a neighbor, you gotta do a whole preamble about how their family is doing.
Oh yeah, it's gonna be a 40-minute conversation.
But you gotta log that time. Like you gotta figure out it's gonna take me an hour to borrow this hammer.
Earn that hammer.
So you gotta earn the hammer.
That's right.
And if you don't do it, if you just come over and go, you got a hammer? They're not gonna give you a hammer.
Yeah.
Like no. I don't know where my hammer went to.
I feel like there's so many, like you just said, like there's a lot of opportunities for that. The one thing, I lived in New York for a little while, and I loathed the culture of everyone ignoring each other.
Yeah, right.
That's because New York's fine, it's got good qualities, but I don't like the idea. Like you take the nicest girl from Kansas City, and she's like, "Oh, I'm moving to New York City next year," and they're like, "Okay." The second she gets to New York, she's all of a sudden don't talk to anyone, got the scarf.
blinders on.
She just adopts the culture of New York, where I can't be bothered. I hated it. I've never been more hated in a place than New York City because I kept dumb, silly dog Jeff. I was just like, "Hey, good morning." They're like, "Shut up." I was like, "All right." I like would go to, like I remember one time I was at a bodega. I'd only been there for like a week. I'm in line. I finally get to the front. The guy goes, "What can I get for you?" I goes, "How's it going, man?" He goes, "What can I get for you?" And I was like, and he goes, "If you don't know what you want, man, get the fuck out of line." Like it was that quick.
Wow.
Yeah, and I just like
0 to 60.
I don't fit in here. I just don't.
It's not your,
People don't say, "How's your morning?" Like, it's just I want a bagel. I want an egg and cheese.
If there's a problem, and there are very few, with being on television for as long as I have been, and I have people that, like yourself, grown up watching, is that I tend to have the same conversation a lot.
Oh.
That's really the only downside, and it's a very small one. But people want to know what it's like. Like, what's Drew Carey? He's nice, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
That's what they really want,
Right?
Rather than because before the time where I was recognizable, I would get in conversations with everybody about everything.
Yeah, just talk.
I'd really like to talk to about them and draw them out, see what they're like, see what's going on, and talk about local issues, whatever is happening.
Right.
Not like I was running a podcast, but I like getting in conversations. I'm a big bench guy. I really love the bench idea. People coming in and then we just start talking.
I could talk about nothing for like an hour and a half. Like I'll watch a documentary, and they don't have to watch that documentary after we're done talking because we will just talk about all of it. Yeah, I like
Isn't it
that.
incredible that happens? That sort of thing.
Yeah.
I
watched this thing the other night. And it's like afterwards, like we've talked about it and dissected it so much. That's the documentary, which I believe people probably do with books, right? I don't know.
Sure.
I don't know what books are like.
My wife, who is a New Yorker, so brought up in that environment, when we first met, was very cut and dried about her conversation. Now, like for example, the other day we were sitting on a bench in our backyard and just watching this jet go across the sky and leaving this, kind of fingernail trace across. And we had this whole conversation about how remarkable it is that there's a jet going across the sky. I mean, it in itself is amazing.
Absolutely.
And we take it for granted all the
Yeah.
time. But there is something incredibly surreal about it.
Yeah.
It wasn't that long ago, a little more than 100 years ago, that we invented the plane.
Yeah.
And now it's such a part of our day that we rule this out. And
Everything in this room.
right.
The way this, like, I was like, if someone said, I'm going to lock you in a prison, like a little thing,
Yeah.
and you get unlimited resources and you will bring you anything you want,
Right.
but you have to make a phone, just a rotary telephone.
Yeah, right.
But we're going to give you I would be in there forever. I would die in
Yeah,
that
you
cell.
die here. Yeah.
And yet I take it for granted every day. I'm like, oh, the
Right.
Wi-Fi is like yeah, it's fascinating. Like
It
a
is.
jet. You're sitting in the sky going hundreds of miles an hour.
It is amazing.
Yeah, it's fascinating.
Yeah, it is. So over the years, I've kind of worn her down. So now we have conversations about random things.
Yeah.
Just because I think they're interesting.
Isn't
And,
it crazy
you know,
that jet is so high and like
Yeah.
going so fast? There's just people on there taking it for granted. She's like,
Yeah.
Diedrich. The tea, like,
what do you want?
I don't know. Why would we talk about that?
Yeah, right. Exactly. So I've worn her down. So now she's like, yeah, that is interesting.
What
I mean,
part of New York is she from?
She is from the Upper West Side.
Okay. I don't
yeah.
know anything about that.
Yeah.
That's where I lived.
Oh, really?
Well,
Yeah.
I was there for just like 6 months in school.
Yeah.
Is she
it's
in
cool.
show
Yeah,
business?
Oh, she is. We met doing a pilot. We were
Look at
cast as
that.
husband and wife. Then once the kids were born, she kind of decided to put it on the back burner.
Sure.
And now she's mostly writing. She's a really great writer, and we
Nice.
write together, and we're really enjoying it. What's been fascinating about writing with her is that we've discovered something about ourselves that we didn't know. I mean, her sense of humor and her concentration and her ability to stay on story and have an overall emotional arc about things was something I wouldn't have discovered if we hadn't started doing it.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
So what's cool about having a long time marriage and then discovering something new, it's just super cool.
Yeah.
It's like, wow, you're really good at that. Like, I had
Yeah,
no
I love
idea that you would be good at this. It seemed like you'd be super funny because you're a funny gal. But I didn't know that you could do this.
I
And
love
it's-
that.
It is really interesting. So it's something that we've enjoyed.
The what I was gonna say, I dated a girl who was wildly successful in pro wrestling, and this is
Wow.
just something I need to work on myself
Okay.
about. So I'm not what I'm about to say. I know is a flaw of mine.
Okay.
I was agitated at
you
how
couldn't kick her ass?
successful. No, I could kick her ass. I'm 6'4". No, but like she was going through like this real peak time in her career, and I found it bothering me. I felt
Okay.
like I was like very jealous, and like all the good news she was getting. And
Yes,
like,
it's hard.
these celebrities are like just calling her, like
get it.
Conor McGregor's texting, and I just found myself going, ugh, I'm doing all right, but like this, like I found myself getting very jealous. So that's why I always wonder, like, if I'm gonna end up with a just
Life lesson.
someone who's got a different career, or
Life
someone's
lesson.
not in the same
Think
thing.
about this. Christopher Hitchens, the writer, one of my favorite quotes from him is, "Envy is the only deadly sin that isn't any fun at all."
So true.
All the rest of them
You
are pretty
enjoy
great.
it.
They're pretty great. Let's face it. They might kill you, but they're awesome.
Tip
On
the
the
hat,
way,
devil.
you're going to have a good time.
Yeah.
Yeah. But envy is the only one that just eats you up inside. So do a self-corrective every time you feel it, and
Yeah.
then your brain will train itself to not go there.
I've been like trying to like coach myself on that. So like the
Me too.
initial emotion happens,
Yeah.
and then I go, "What are you doing?" And I
Right.
kind of like talk to myself the way I would talk to someone else. Like, stop being a baby. It doesn't
Yeah.
change anything. Like, good
It's
for
great.
him, good for her. Yeah,
Also
those kind
think, for example, your career will probably never lead you into a way where you are a female wrestler.
right. Yeah, she's not taking anything from me.
I'm not saying there isn't some chance,
Hey, nowadays,
right?
you can do whatever I want.
But right, but it's a slim chance.
I would
face it.
crush those girls too. Like
Right.
if I transition
Pat
and then
Finn
just I'm
getting the
huge.
pilot, for example,
Yeah.
that I auditioned for. There was obviously a part of me that was like, should have been me.
Right.
There was a bigger part of me that went, Pat's great.
Right.
He's awesome. He's going to have a good time with George Wendt. George Wendt apparently was a friend of his.
But what if it went to a prick? You know, a guy you don't like.
then what you do is you see it's not about envy. It's about this prick got this thing
Right.
that another actor who was really great could have gotten.
Yeah.
And you separate those two. You don't make it about you not getting
There
it.
you go.
You make it about this guy who should not have got it. And that's
You're like
one of the
you're
things
like a
with
sage.
I'm old. That's one of the things about show business that's very frustrating and was extremely frustrating for me when I was a kid and I was in the Beverly Hillbillies, for example. I would lose parts to people that I felt weren't as good as me, that I was a better actor than they were. They got the part because they were in a more successful movie than I was. So it wasn't about the talent. You're not competing. It's like
Their
you get into
stock
the ring.
was more
Yeah,
important.
there's a lot of
Yeah.
that today where it's like
Oh, in my business,
based on its Instagram followers versus
Well,
you
Yeah,
know,
has absolutely nothing to do
in
with
stand-up
what
comedy,
you're
like the
supposed to
best
do.
sellers are Mankind the Wrestler. He has the best numbers. Steve-O from Jackass.
Right.
Like those are who sell out comedy clubs.
Right,
and
right,
you're like,
right.
what?
Why?
They're not even doing comedy. They're
Right.
telling stories and
Yeah.
question and answer.
It's very difficult not to be frustrated by that because the business is stacked in a way that feels unbelievably unfair
Yeah.
and not talent based. You think it's talent based, but it really is not.
Yeah, I got to come to terms with just the fact that, like, why would I think this should be fair? Like, what else what in
Exactly.
the world is fair?
You didn't make
and
the
now
rules.
I'm expecting this to be fair
Right,
with
right,
some
right.
ladder that I can measure.
Right. I don't know. It has nothing to do with, well, it has something to do with your talent, but success breeds success. So you're in something that makes money. You're going to be offered something that it will also probably inevitably make money.
Yeah.
There are directors that have an incredible success rate of pilots that are picked up for series, and then they get a piece of that, and they made a tremendous amount of money because they were associated at an early stage with the success. They're offered these pilots,
Sure.
and believe me, when you read pilots, you pretty much know what's going to go and what's not going to go because you laugh at the first page.
Sure.
If you laugh at the first page and the concept is good, they already have a good star on, or there's an executive producer with a track record, you're like, oh, that's going to go. If you're offered that and you turn it down, you're a jackass
Right.
and you're not going to be successful. If you say yes, then everybody goes, you've got a magic touch. It's like, no, not really.
Yeah.
I'm not a jackass.
yeah.
That's what it is.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, that makes total sense.
So to navigate that, it becomes complicated. And often it's confused with envy. And you have to separate that. Then it's easy to go forward.
Yeah, I've been definitely working on it a lot because I think like the instinct is sometimes you see like I dealt with it like in 2008. I remember seeing someone like Letterman, like a comic that we
Sure.
knew, and I was like,
Comics are particularly susceptible to this.
how him? You know,
Yeah.
like, and we all felt, and then we all had like I had to like talk myself off the ledge. Like they weren't even considering me. Like why did I
get
think?
it.
You know, so it's kind of one of those things.
Really interesting piece in the New Yorker a long time ago about Drew when we were on the show and the show was doing very well. And it started off with Drew saying, watching these other stand-ups, and as I say, stand-ups are particularly susceptible to this, and saying, why him? He's not funny. I'm funnier than he is.
Sure.
And then went into the whole profile. And then at the end of the profile, there's another stand-up who, when Drew walks away, turns to the reporter and goes, why him? I'm funnier than he is. So it's like, it's just the nature of the beast.
Yeah, it's just how it goes.
Part of what happens. To drive yourself, to put yourself up there all alone, you have to have an element of a competitive nature.
Why have you never done stand up? You've done theater. You've done the arts in many forms. You've
I don't-
definitely
I
got
don't
the
know. I mean,
intelligence. I don't know why'd you never do the stand up?
I love working with actors. I love it. I love it when they're good. It's the best thing that's ever happened to me.
Really?
Working with Katie Mixon, working with, excuse me, working with Julia Louis-Dreyfus, working with Pam.
What about working with Diedrich Bader? You know, you could be all alone on a stage.
Right? No. I love the interaction. I love that we're creating something together, a little bit of magic that we can forget about the cameras. We can forget about everything we're doing. I remember working with John Goodman on a very short-lived series because it sucked. But he and I were playing brothers, and we had a fight. And John Goodman got red-faced, angry at me while we were shooting. And I got red-faced, angry at him. And we finished the scene. I walked off stage, stormed off, slammed the door. I realized I was shaking. Like really got mad.
Yeah.
Because John Goodman was so there, so incredibly present, that I just was swept into this whirlwind. And it's the same thing with working with these amazing actresses that I'm working with now. Very different styles.
Yeah.
But it's like stepping into this river where you're just taken away. And I love the idea that I have lost myself and that now my thoughts are of this character and they're in the scene. And it's something so truly beautiful about it.
I love that.
I've never been able to leave it behind. When I'm self-conscious, which I think I would be as a stand-up, it draws me back into myself. I like to be drawn out.
I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it seems like I'd like to see those kind of things. I've only seen you do funny stuff, and that's because that's what I watch, I guess. But what are some things where we can see? You said the thing you're working on right now is the closest character to you, right?
Yeah, that's on American Housewife.
On American Housewife.
Yeah, my character Greg is a professor. He's sort of nerdy. He's into history. He'll always do historical parallels to things, which is what I constantly do. Drives everybody crazy. It's like I start talking about gardens, I have to bring up William Bavorin.
Yeah, but don't you think that helps people? I think that's a more interesting way to talk.
Yeah, I mean, it can be irritating. I get where it is. Not everything is a seminar, for example, but it was the way I was brought up. Because my father was both a medievalist and a modern European historian. He had 2 PhDs. He was a Fulbright scholar. My mom was an art historian. And then you do the PhDs with my siblings. My eldest brother particularly is extremely well read and knows history. He's pretty much amazing. But anyway, when my wife went first to dinner with my entire family, at the end of dinner, she was like, "I'm exhausted."
Yeah.
And I said, "Why?" And she goes, "Like, that was the most passive-aggressive game of Jeopardy I've ever been a part of." It's like you guys are constantly working in historical parallels. And if somebody is off by a date, it's like the worst thing that's ever happened. You don't know when the massacre of St. Bartholomew happened?
What a noob. Yeah. But also, like, how else are you going to use history if you don't pepper it in there?
Oh,
you
totally.
know? Otherwise, it's just this thing you know.
Oh, yeah.
You got to, like, put it in
my
there.
son has picked that up because he is kind of an autodidact like my eldest brother. So he remembers things like, for example, he loves the presidential cards. He bought them. And then he goes over and he likes to be drilled on it. I couldn't remember.
On the American presidents?
Oh, American presidents.
Okay.
He goes over and
memorize
over.
them all?
Memorize. He just loves memorizing things.
Who's your favorite president?
Who's my favorite president? That's an extremely complicated question.
Mine's Teddy Roosevelt.
Oh, I love Teddy Roosevelt.
Yeah, he's got all these great stories. And 3 times while in office, he left to hunt Bigfoot. 3 times while in office.
Yeah.
That's my type of guy.
Yeah.
Like, hey, I've been hearing about this thing. I've killed every other
Interesting
animal.
guy.
I want to kill
Great
a Bigfoot.
historian, great intellectual.
Yeah.
Probably one of the smartest guys that ever held office.
Really?
Along with probably Obama and Wilson, although Wilson was obviously a racist and had all kinds of other problems. He was an intellectual. But yeah, Theodore Roosevelt was certainly a really interesting guy. Probably wrote more books than any other president, for example.
Really? See, I didn't know all that. Just knew the Bigfoot thing.
He also pushed himself in a way that is kind of American. I mean, but at the same time, sort of over the top. The way that he was constantly throwing himself in. His daughter used to make merciless fun of him because, he pushed himself so hard all the time and trying to prove to everybody that he could do something. Because as a kid, he was asthmatic and a little bit skinny. And,
he shook that, didn't he?
He sure did. And the way that he did it was he went out west and was a wrangler. Yeah. And he was kind of jostling with these guys and saw a different view of what masculinity could be like. And it's a little more hyper masculinity, almost a parody of masculinity. And he tried to live up to it all the time. It was never an easy wear for Theodore Roosevelt. So a super complicated guy.
Yeah. Who's your son's favorite president?
His favorite president, oh my God, is Coolidge, Calvin Coolidge.
I don't know nothing about him.
Yeah, Calvin Coolidge, he collects Calvin Coolidge memorabilia.
You're kidding.
No, he had... he wants to go visit his gravestone.
What a cool kid.
Yeah. He met Conan O'Brien.
Yeah.
My wife used to know him a long time ago, and so we bumped into him at a school tour. And for some reason, Calvin Coolidge came up. It's like we disappeared. They just started talking about Calvin Coolidge and went off on their own. Yeah, apparently, he's a Calvin Coolidge fan as well. Very rarely meets a fellow Coolidge fan.
Yeah.
I would say
very rarely for the rest of his life he's
probably
going to
my favorite of all time. Although, of course, he's problematic as well. But probably my favorite of all time is Abraham Lincoln. I love that he captures an American spirit, that he was there at a particular time and was able to utilize that moment to redefine what we are as Americans. And
He was a jerk for a while too.
What? Sorry?
He was a jerk for a while.
Was he?
Yeah, I mean, like he started dirty politics, and then
he was rough, but
then
he was playing
stopped.
politics. Yeah.
And then he's like, I'm not going to do that anymore because he almost
Absolutely.
died in that
Yep.
duel or whatever, right?
That's right.
That sword duel.
He had an interesting trajectory. He learned by losing.
Yeah.
Which is the way a lot of us learn, but he particularly was very good at that. He learned from his mistakes, and the fact that he could come up from, a cabin. It's the great story. It's the great American dream. With no floor to being president of the United States and saving the Union.
Yeah.
It's a remarkable trajectory. He was also a consummate politician, the way that he was able to put coalitions together. So I would say, overall, someone who has taken a strong moral stand and is able to create coalitions and understand what politics is and its ability to reach out are the people that I'm the biggest fan of. FDR, for example, one of the greatest people to create rhetoric in history. The idea that he wanted us to get into World War II long before we got into World War II. He was looking at our European allies and saying, we should be doing something about this. Churchill was begging him to come in.
Really?
And he created this thing called Lend-Lease, which in itself is a good idea, where you would basically borrow our munitions, which makes no sense at all. But the way that he said it was that if your neighbor's house is burning and he asked for a hose, wouldn't you give it to him? And every American went, yeah, that's probably right. And the Republicans that were isolationists were deeply frustrated by that because he framed the argument in a way where now we're talking about our neighbor's house burning down. How does this not work? How do I change the dialogue and say that I'm going to throw out that metaphor.
Sure.
And then talk about a different metaphor where we're actually spending our tax money on a war where we haven't declared war on anybody. How do you change that dialogue? You can't. He already called it. And so to me, that was pretty impressive.
Yeah, it's
pretty
smart
impressive
stuff. It's also verbal manipulation, which is the business that I'm in. So I'm fascinated by that kind of stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. I think Obama was a great president, incredibly smart guy, constitutional scholar. I think Bill Clinton was certainly interesting. Smart guy, obviously drawn down by his own demons.
George W. Bush loved baseball. And,
James K.
and
Polk.
beer.
James K. Polk, great president. Actually, the only one that decided to run only for one term.
I didn't even know Polk was a president.
Yeah, right.
Didn't know that.
Yeah, James K. Polk.
I'm learning about a president.
So much. Yeah. Well, you asked an open-ended question. So I can't say that I have a favorite, but I do have a number that I admire.
Yeah. I love that you just even know this much stuff about it. It's a lot.
Yeah. I like to read history.
Yeah.
I like to read it.
What's your Netflix queue like? Is it a lot of documentaries and stuff like that? Or what do you...
No, I'm less into docs, and I'm more into fiction stuff. I just like to relax and watch. I have been... I watched Game of Thrones last night, the last episode. I had to turn out the lights because I couldn't see a damn thing.
That was the complaint.
It was super dark, but
Yeah.
it was awesome. Why did she send out the first guys? That thing that really surprised me. I was like, what was the point? It was like the charge of the light brigade. That was really stupid. That really got me and kind of took me out of the story for a little bit.
Yeah.
Cinematically, super interesting.
Sure.
But I was like, why did they do that?
Yeah.
Didn't they know that there were zombies there? Because the swords are on
gonna go
fire.
wherever it's
I've
at.
never seen Game of
You haven't
Thrones.
seen Game of
Yeah.
Thrones? Oh, I just did a huge spoiler.
That's
No,
okay.
it doesn't bother me. I'm not going to
Okay.
catch up. That's the only... every human that I'm friends with is like, Jeff, you'd love Game of Thrones. We know you, and we know you'd love it. But I don't have a spare 200 hours to catch up. Like, I missed the boat.
and
You'd
the
rather be
problem-
walking.
I missed the
all right.
boat.
And it's not something passive that you can do too. Like I'll throw something on like when I'm editing the podcast or whatever, and it can't be Game of Thrones because it's very active.
No, you have to be watching it.
pay attention.
There's a lot
Yeah.
of nuance to
So
it.
I kind of like after
It
like
is a commitment.
however long when somebody's like, dude, you guys are you watching this? It kind of became in this cultural thing.
Yeah.
I realized like, oh, I'll check it out. And then I looked at how long I would have to catch up. And I was like, that might be, that's a lot.
Part of it too is that we watch some documentaries, but at the end of the day, my wife also likes just to be entertained. She just wants to relax and have a good time and watch a show that takes her out of herself. When I am alone, when I'm on location, I don't watch television at all.
Really?
I just don't turn it on. I keep forgetting it's there. In my trailer at work, I have a television, but I didn't know that until this year. I came in and the Teamster had left the television on, and I was like, "What? I've just been here the whole time."
What? They're getting
Never
trailers?
noticed
I
it
mean,
was
so
there.
many actors that are like, I don't watch TV. It's like, you're in the business.
I know.
Yeah, I watch it at home.
Okay.
But I will say, in defense of those actors that don't watch a lot of television,
Yeah,
it's not relaxing. It's like you watching stand-up.
that's true.
So for me, I see the different shots. I see the way the script is formulated. I see the actor. They'll have an enormous monologue, and I'll think, boy, that must have been tough to memorize. I'm not listening at all to anything that they're saying.
Yeah.
So for me to get out of it, it's really hard.
Yeah.
But isn't it great when you get to watch something though, where you like when you don't think of that?
Excellent point.
Then it's always like, oh, then I must have really enjoyed that because I wasn't sitting there like,
I
oh,
wasn't
that was
thinking about it.
that was a nice pull, focus pull. Like when I lose that, then I'm like, oh, the story really gripped me.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
When I don't notice a camera move, when I don't notice how an actor is doing, when I don't notice when they're looking for a light all the time, I see this all the time because I think about it constantly. Like even as we're talking this entire time, I'm thinking about this light and that light.
Really?
Oh, I can't help myself.
Yeah.
I 80 times have thought, why isn't that light on? Because that would be a better fill for my eyes.
Oh yeah.
But it's part of what you do as a technician when you're on a set is to go, well, I can't turn this way because this will be too profile and then this side wouldn't be too much. So if I turn my head this way, then I'm square in the middle and I'll be all right. You think about that all the time. So I'll watch a show and
I've learned I might be the worst actor ever.
backlit and then there'll be just a small fill. And the whole time I'm like, why didn't he turn his head to the left? He'd get better fill on the left. Why isn't he doing that the whole time?
When I'm acting, I'm just going like, I bet I'm such a good actor right now. Gee, I did that last line. And then when they're acting, I'm going, oh, he's acting good too. That's all I think.
So I do this whole thing because I've been around a while. So I will watch, we'll rehearse a scene, and then I come to the set with it intimidates some actors because a lot of actors carry sides. I don't carry any sides. I come memorized.
Nice.
It's up to you whether or not you're going to be memorized with me. I'm not going to make you feel bad about the fact that you don't know your lines. I try not to anyway. I'm just prepared. I figure it's part of my job. But anyway, I come, we rehearse. Then I go to my trailer for a little bit, run the lines, make sure I'm up, ask the actor if they want to run lines. If they don't, I go to the set, I watch the lighting. And I watch the second team. So I see what the other guy, who is ostensibly me, how he can turn his head and make it work. What the shot is going to be, what the first shot is going to be, how I can adjust myself physically. If I'm going to do a physical bit, I want to keep it in the master. So how do I have to do it now? I'll go over with second team what the general area of where I want to do it. And then when we're actually shooting, I don't think about any of that. But I can only do that if I watch second team rehearsal. I'm shocked at how many actors don't do that.
I didn't even know what the second team is. I don't know what that.
So that's your stand-in.
Oh,
You do rehearsal. First, you do it for the executive producers. Then the second time, you do it for the crew. They put down the marks. And then the person who looks a lot like you, I'm working with a great stand-in now, David, who's been my guy for a while, has a similarly shaped head, which is great for me. Deep set eyes, big forehead. So I can watch all of that and get things where I can't turn my head too much because otherwise it looks like an iceberg is going to kill somebody because the forehead really is immense. But he has a similar shaped face, so I'm able to watch it. We go over all of the moves, and then he does it on camera, and I watch him and see how he looks on camera. And which way I can hold my body, which way I hold my face, what works, what doesn't work.
Wow.
And then once we actually start shooting, I know all of that.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm trying to embody it like a dancer would.
Sure.
So I don't think about it because I already thought about it. And then, especially as I said, when you work with somebody like the incredibly talented actresses I'm working with now, you step into River, you're good to go.
Yeah.
But what it does save me is when I later watch it, I don't go, I completely missed that light. because I know that would drive me completely crazy as I'm sitting watching at home.
Do you watch your own stuff, like kind of like reviewing your golf swing? Like you'll watch your own.
I do if I'm a regular,
Okay.
because I can do something about it.
Yeah.
If I do a guest star spot, I think I've only watched maybe 2. And I don't know how many guest star spots, honestly, I've done.
Yeah.
I really have no idea. But if I can't do anything about it, I watched the second team rehearsal as a guest star, which most people think is awkward because I'm standing by the monitor and it's sort of their domain. And I'm not a regular and I'm not a producer. So what are you doing standing looking at the monitor? So I try to do it as quietly and unobtrusively as possible. I'll stand pretty far back, but they'll have like 3 monitors and I'll just watch the whole thing. I'm going to watch it there and then I'll leave.
That's so fascinating.
But it's not so. But as a guest, I can't learn anything from how they edit. I can't learn anything from the shots that they keep. I can't learn anything from watching how the lead actor and I interact. So I don't see any point. I'm not going to learn anything from it.
Sure.
All I'm going to do is go, I don't look anything like a young Sean Connery and be tragically disappointed.
Thinking things that aren't going to be productive.
They just aren't productive.
Yeah.
So I watch things when I'm a regular. I only watched maybe 4 episodes of the Drew Carey Show on the whole time.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because I realized the rhythm of it. I realized what worked, what didn't work.
You were
And then-
phenomenal in it.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks. It was fun to do. It was fun to do. The audience was there. They gave me that immediate feedback, which is, as you know, incredible.
It's a good feeling. Yeah.
It's a great feeling. It's the best feeling in the world.
That's why I do it.
If I could possibly be on a multicam show, I would. After the Drew Carey Show, I did 4 pilots that were multicam. For people not in show business, that's like Big Bang Theory.
There's a
Cheers.
set. Yeah, there's a live studio
But it's
audience.
almost like doing an under-rehearsed play. They have 4 cameras that shoot at once, which Desi Arnaz invented, which was a really brilliant idea. So they can cut anywhere around, but it's with a live audience, so it has that interaction. The American Housewife, Veep, and Better Things is called a single camera show, even though they shoot with multiple cameras, because it's shot more like a film. There's no audience. So there's a little explainer for some of your listeners who don't know. But that type of show, when I was on the Drew Carey Show, there were 36 other multicam shows shot in front of a live audience. Now there's less than 10.
Yeah.
So
It does seem to be a dying thing. I don't know if dying is the
I'm
right word,
not
but
sure
a
it's dying.
decreasing thing.
Yeah, diminishing. And then maybe someday they'll rediscover it and it'll be a really broad thing again, which I would love.
Yeah.
But until that time, I just realistically, as a business person, I couldn't continue to do pilots that were not getting picked up.
Yeah.
Because you only get one a year. They own you for that year. So that's a long time.
Pick something that's going to get picked up. Don't be a jackass.
Don't be a jackass.
Yeah.
Put your business cap on and go, okay, so what are they buying? What do they need? How does it fit within the larger scope of this network? And what was amazing about American Housewife is that it checked all of the boxes. And I really liked the script. And I really liked the role because I wanted to play a dad. And I wanted to play a dad that liked being a dad, that wasn't trying to duck out of it, that wasn't snidely like ditching his kids all the time, trying to get out of being any kind of parental responsibility. Someone who's attracted to his wife, that loves his wife, likes having a dialogue with his wife, stands up to his wife, isn't constantly like, yes, dear. All of those things were great for me as an actor. So that box was checked. The executive producers were people that had a track record. Kenny and Rick, great guys. That box was checked. It was ABC Studios for ABC. So a lot of the revenue that comes into the show goes directly to the network. It's in their interest.
You have a history with them, the Cowboy.
That was my first pilot, was with ABC. And also the Drew Carey Show was ABC. So there's a symmetry to that, which I also liked. And then I had an interesting experience. When I first saw Drew on television and the monitor on stage, when I first met Drew, I liked him. He's really funny. He's a nice guy.
Yeah.
I didn't get it. He's not an actor. He never looks you in the eye. He's running his lines. Not that he isn't funny, but you're not acting with
Yeah,
him. It's
most
the opposite
comics,
of what's
yeah.
happening with John Goodman, where you're just 100% drilled into each other. Drew's like looking off and thinking he's waiting for his line. We're not acting. We're just like saying our lines at random times.
There's also a history of that. Jerry Seinfeld, Brett Butler.
They're not actors.
Yeah, like it's comedians,
Yeah.
Ray Romano. They
Yeah.
got success
Yeah.
in this, and then they put them in that. Yeah.
Right, exactly. And Drew's great, again, and
Yeah.
fantastically, because of what I'm about to say.
Yeah.
So I saw him on the monitor for the first time. I didn't think the pilot was going to go. But I saw him on the monitor, and I was like, it's that guy. It's him. And I didn't even know what it meant at the time. He's the type of lead where, and only leads can do this, you just inherently care. You just hope it works out for him. Even though he's not acting,
Sure.
you just look at him and you go, gosh, I hope it works out for that guy.
I'm rooting for him.
Yeah. And that's not anything you can train anybody to do. When I first met Katie in the hallway of American Housewife before my test, I didn't know it was going to be Katie. Katie had already been cast as Katie. I met her in the hallway and the little voice went, it's her. And she's so perfect for this part because the things that Katie's character, I doubt that you're not the demographic. I doubt that you've seen the show.
I have
But
not.
the things that Katie, the character, says are sometimes really awful. Like she just says things that a lot of people think, but she says them out loud.
Right.
And only someone who is incredibly inherently likable would be able to get away with those things.
Yeah.
If you had someone who was just an actress who's just a good actress, but isn't instantly sympathetic, you'd go, that's terrible. You're actually a terrible person.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, for
You're
sure.
a super bad person, and I'm not sure why I'm spending all this time with you. As you say, it's an investment to watch a television show.
Yeah.
You don't know what's happening. You don't know the relationships, and it isn't explained every episode. So you really have to be in it to win it. So you just inherently like Katie. She's able to pull that off, and kind of the same thing with Julia. I mean, her character Selena is awful. She's terrible, selfish, truly terrible person. But there's something about her where you root for her.
Yeah.
Even
Or
though
I even identify with some of the
You do.
endearing flaws. Yeah.
Absolutely. There isn't a single person on that show. There's not one character who's actually a nice person. And that's a fascinating thing as a writer, Armando, who created the show, sort of brilliantly was able to lay that out where there are people that you associate with,
Sure.
but only because you realize that sometimes you can be a dick.
Yeah.
And it's your aggression that makes it, like your competitive nature, like we were talking about. You bring out the worst angels or the devil in your side.
Yeah.
And that's what the show is really. That's the
How can
foundation
people
of the
watch
show.
it? Like, where's it at?
That's HBO.
HBO.
And then
it's
Better Things is on.
Do they just put up a whole season on HBO, or is it like
it's
weekly?
one at a time.
Okay.
And then you can watch it all week, obviously on your TiVo, but you could download it all week on the HBO Go. And then you can see past episodes. HBO Go is actually pretty cool to catch up and see where you are. And I would recommend that, like, for people to go back and watch the old show, because Dave Mandel, who runs the show now, is a great guy, sort of reached back and brought back a lot of characters that had been off the show.
That's great.
And if you haven't seen the entire show, you'd see people that would basically walk by, have 2 lines, and then leave. And you have no idea where they're on this season.
Right.
And it's basically because in season 4 or season 3, they had a huge arc. So they did something then, and he's honoring that when
I
we're
love
going
that.
forward in the
Yeah.
last season.
Yeah.
Dave's great. But yeah, no, it is fascinating. And I will say, I'm sorry, I'm going on and on and on, but I guess
No,
you
we
guys
love
can
it.
edit
That's what we want.
One of the things that Pam has done on Better Things, which is on FX on Thursday nights at 10 something, what Pam has done is that it's really about her life as an actress in Hollywood, and being a single mom, dealing with 3 girls, and bringing them up in an environment which is less than healthy. And also just the ins and outs of show business and how incredibly complicated it is to navigate a career. She has, in my opinion, the first time in Hollywood history, created an actor where people can sympathize with her, even empathize with her. If you watch a movie, this is going way back, to I think it was called Bombshell with Jean Harlow. It was about her crazy life as an actress. It was clearly written for her about her crazy life. You don't care. You don't care because she lives this gilded life.
Yeah.
That's the sort of the cliche of how they think our lives are really like.
Right.
You know, we do when we're on camera anyway. We make a lot of money.
Yeah.
And a lot of people cater to us. We ask somebody to bring us something, they bring it to us. You know, things just magically appear. They just give you things. Once you're on television or in the movies, things just sort of happen that, you know, you're not even sure why you're given this suit or this set of clubs. Like I was fitted for club. I don't play golf. But for some reason, because I was like, no, I better, because this may be my one chance to get golf clubs.
Yeah.
I get fitted because I'm shorter than you are, but I'm a taller guy. So for golf clubs, you got to get certain size.
I have custom golf clubs. Like, guess how
That's
many
what I'm
times
saying,
I've
'cause
used
you're
them.
6'4". How many?
Yeah.
Yeah, people just give you things.
Yeah.
So there is a gilded element to it and something that is different from other people's lives. 100%. I totally get it. And movies and television shows that have featured actors' lives have tended to build that up. That's not your whole life.
You're not in a limousine going
All the
to
time.
dinner.
Yeah. It's like Entourage was like that.
Yeah.
Right. That's not
something-
actually
yeah, you see
the
the
life. I
glamour
have a
side
wife,
of it,
I have
yeah.
kids, I have friends where I try to maintain a relationship with my friends. Given the hours that I have to work when I am working, it's difficult to maintain friendships.
Right.
Because I will
You're not just every night going, I'm going to go to the bar and you're meeting Drew
Yeah.
Carey and
Right.
Julie Louis-Dreyfus.
Yeah,
Like,
it's not because we work, and
Right.
and I have to get up at 5 a.m. And on the weekends I have 40 pages to memorize. So there's no easy way to do it. I sit down and I start memorizing it.
Sure.
She managed to create a character where her life is so complex, and you see what it's like to actually be in the life. Yeah, you go to premiere, but I tell people that are just starting, I've been in this business for 23 years. And as you pointed out, I've been lucky enough to work. I have yet to see the glamour of it. It's all work. It's all about getting work, working, or thinking about the fact that you don't have any work.
Sure.
That's really it. Everybody that you meet when you go to premiere, and you know, like going to Miss Congeniality 2, posing with William Shatner was fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
Those are fleeting moments. And yeah, maybe there was some glamour in that 1, 2, 3 second element to it where I was like, oh my God, Tiberius is holding my leg.
Yeah.
This is awesome. But you know, you realize the rest of it is the pressure. This movie has to make money.
Yeah.
Sure.
If it doesn't make money, it's not like I wasted 3 months. I worked with Sandra Bullock. I worked with all these incredible actors. But as far as my career is concerned, nothing. Nothing will happen. So, and I've had some crushing disappointments. So when you're at the premiere, all you're thinking is, how do I sell this to the press that are here? And all they do is gobble that up.
Sure.
You know, it's their job.
Yeah.
So how do I try to be a salesman for this show when they're already, they want you to be the salesman? I mean, this relationship is a strange one. But the bottom line is, if people don't see the movie, nothing will happen. And when movies are disappointing, I tell you, it's truly awful. Office Space, for example, when it first came out, I went opening weekend. I missed the premiere because I was shooting the Drew Carey show on the night of the premiere. And opening weekend, we went to AMC 14, or I think they call it 15 now, in Century City. It was my wife, myself, and one other person that apparently walked in accidentally because they left after the title sequence. So it was my wife and myself on a Saturday night at the biggest movie theater in Los Angeles.
Yeah.
And I had a total crisis because I loved the movie. I loved the script. I loved Mike. I loved Ron. I was so looking forward to the movie. I really wanted to go to the premiere. I couldn't make it. It was going to be a bomb. It's a bomb. And my taste and America's taste are completely different. Like, we've diverged in this yellow wood. And I took the path less traveled by, and that made no difference at all. I'm still bombing. And, you know, it was awful. And so I didn't see the movie for another 10 years. Not once until they did a reunion at in Austin where we shot it at the Austin Film Festival, South by Southwest. And by that point, it was the Rocky Horror Picture Show.
Right, yeah.
And people and talk about
It's
an
the
audience
best.
reaction, just great.
Well, you know what's
It's the
funny is
best.
I worked at Hollywood Video when that came out.
Oh, is that right?
So I got a screener of it. Like
cool.
they sent us
Alright.
like these VHS, screeners at VHS at the time. And I came home and I watched it alone.
Right.
And I want to preface this that it's one of my favorite movies.
Awesome.
But when I watched it alone the first time, I was like, this is horrible.
Right.
I didn't enjoy it.
Yeah.
And then my friends were talking about it like weeks later, like, dude, it's the best. I was like, but I want their friendship, they're like cool guys. Like,
Hilarious.
oh, I saw that. Really? And we watched it again and watching it with them. And then like, it totally transformed the movie for me. And then we watched it
that's a good
again and again and again.
yeah.
We watched
Yeah.
other
Oh, it really
friends and
stands
it
up to repeat
really
viewings.
started I just remember being like, how could I have watched this? And although my favorite movie of all time, The Big Lebowski, first time I ever saw it, I didn't like it.
Oh, okay.
I didn't get it.
Yeah.
And then after seeing it like 700 times, it's
Yeah, it's
easily
left a huge like. I'm doing a music video where I'm gonna beat up a pinata like they beat up the printer.
Oh,
sure.
yeah,
Like it's
Vice
like
Versa,
yeah.
you know,
It's such a good
like a
movie.
cult
I
classic.
think
It's
just
so
being
great.
alone and not knowing what I was getting into, I was just sitting there going,
Totally.
oh, yeah.
You don't know which way to go.
It's very dry,
I get it.
It's very dry. So I
Super dry.
So like watching it alone,
Because there's so
really-
much about his experience
So
and what
good.
it was like
Yeah,
to
the
work
mundane
in mid-level,
Yeah.
Your
business.
character in that's
the best.
legendary.
Oh my gosh.
So, okay, so when I got that script, I really loved it. I had just seen Bottle Rocket, which is an awesome movie, and I thought sorry, no, who am I thinking of? Oh my God, I'm not Wes Anderson, who directed it. Oh my God, I'm completely spacing on his name. The guy who's in with Jackie Chan in the westerns.
Owen
He's-
Wilson.
Owen Wilson, thank you. So I thought, I'm going to do like an Owen Wilson impression. Like I'll do, this guy sounds exactly like Owen Wilson and it's Austin. So it would totally work, to do like an Owen Wilson guy. Can't do it with my voice right now. But anyway,
Wow.
so I worked on an Owen Wilson impression, right? I thought, knock this out of the park. So I get in, I'm sitting, I sign in and swear to God, Owen Wilson walks out. And I'm like, holy shit. So I look at the sign-in sheet. He's reading for Lawrence.
Unbelievable.
I should have looked at the sign. I just signed my name. I sat down. I had to run over my Owen Wilson impression as much as I could. So I was like, oh my God, I can't do a better Owen Wilson than Owen Wilson. So I came up with the Lawrence character in the 30 seconds it took for me to walk from them saying Diedrich, and I go, great. I just pulled that guy right out of my
I'm so glad you got
Wow.
that part because it is legendary.
Yeah.
The first take was completely ruined by the audition. The first take of the audition was completely ruined by Mike, who laughed through the entire thing.
Oh, really?
And I had to do a second take, and he apologized all the way through, and then did this was covering his mouth. So I thought,
You knew
I
you
got
were
a shot
doing
at
good,
it.
yeah.
I got a shot at it.
Yeah,
Still,
yeah.
they offered it to Johnny Depp. They had to go through the whole thing. They offered it to Billy Bob
That'd have
Thornton,
been
who said he
awful.
would do it for $5 million.
Right.
Mike told me the story that he called up Billy Bob, he's a friend of his,
Yeah.
and said, Billy, we're shooting this for $5 million. Like, if we paid your $5 million, there's nothing we could do after that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
like-
just a way of saying no, right?
Yeah.
If you give him such a big number.
He said it's his quote, and that means something. Like, you can't go down from your quote anytime, because the next time a studio goes and goes, well, you did
You
Office
did it for
Space
them. Yeah.
did it for them. You're not $5 million. You're not a $5 million guy. You're this guy because you said you were $5 million, but you're not.
Right.
So I did it for, I don't know, scale or something. I can't even remember. But yeah, no, that's
It was
that's my
so
story.
funny.
That's it.
Yeah. Well, so you're the greatest. If people want to watch, on your Instagram, there's
Yeah.
flowers. If they like flowers, go to the Instagram.
If they like the flowers, I would say for anyone who has trouble in their lives for anything, I hope that my Instagram account will give them a sense of peace. For anyone to get my sense of humor, to see where I am politically and as far as show business, I would follow me on Twitter.
Okay.
So very different feeds.
Yeah.
But watch American Housewife on ABC, Better Things on FX, and Veep on HBO.
Killing it. We really loved having you, man. Just
Thanks. It was
sincerely.
really fun.
Yeah, you're a fantastic human. Tony, you got anything to promote, bud?
Just follow me on Twitter and Instagram. I am Tony Reavis.
All
Stay
right.
tuned there.
And I don't know where I'll be next week. I think I'm going to Omaha. Well, I don't know. We'll see. Thanks, guys.
Yeah.
Friendship.
How about that? I told you it was one of the best episodes we've ever done. Great guy. A little longer because we're hitting it off with him. We like talking to him. Why cut him short? He's the best. In fact, I'd like to have him back. Diedrich, always welcome on the Jeff Dye Friendship Podcast. We loved you. If you're listening on iTunes, don't forget to rate, subscribe, and review. We would love that. If you'd like to watch the podcast, go to patreon.com/Jeff Dye. Small subscription fee each month gets you to be able to watch every episode of the podcast, including the old 56 episodes. You also get little goodies, little randoms, and you get free tickets to my comedy show for life, which is, or not for life, but as long as you're subscribed. So it pays for itself. So go to patreon.com/Jeff Dye, subscribe. If not, no big deal. We're just happy you're listening. We love you guys. See you next week.